Welcome to our segment entitled Get Up and Get Dressed with Shaquanna Chappelle, an amazing author, entrepreneur, and image consultant with a strong faith and love for God. When I originally asked her to be a guest speaker, I didn't even realize how much of her story truly embodies what the Savvy Girl Summit is really all about: savvy, mission driven, women of faith, and industry. So, connecting with her was one of those aha moments for me in planning and preparing for this event. She's overcome numerous obstacles on her journey, and she's used her experiences to help other women to be more confident and be empowered, and not only just through their appearance, but also through discovering their mission driven purpose. So, without further ado, Shaquana, welcome to the Savvy Girl Summit. And
Hi,
thank you so much for being here. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. I'm so excited. I've been looking forward to this for so long, Faith. So thank you for having me. I am ready to kick it with the Savvy Girls.
Your book really shows that you have discovered a way to use your many gifts and talents to positively impact your community. I would love to hear more about you and how you started your journey.
I'm so blessed to be connected to you, Faith, and everything you're doing is because I'm finding myself in a season where I am reflecting on my story. I grew up not thinking I had a story worth telling. But when I was 8 years old, my mom passed away from breast cancer. She was only 33. She got diagnosed when she was 27. So ladies, get checked. It's real. It's real out there. But that experience literally kicked off so much in my life. But if I fast forward through all the years of and decades really of grieving what it was like to lose my mom at such a young age, I finally got to the point where I was just like, you know what? God's vision for my life is to ingrain my mother's legacy here on earth. My mom was full of faith. Oh, such a faithful woman, confident, graceful. I get my love for jewelry and dressing up from her. And she just always encouraged people and had so much wisdom. And I naturally inherited all of that. As far as this is like just like how I kind of stepped into this whole world that I'm in now. It actually started with me doing a nonprofit. So I had a nonprofit called Embrace Your Crown, all about promoting confidence, self-worth, and value to young ladies and women. So we did a lot of partnerships and collaborations with high schools and high school students. We did prom drives, we did mentoring programs, things
Wow.
like that. And I love that because it inspired other women of all ages, but most importantly, it gave me confidence to continue going in the direction that God wanted me to go. But God said, okay, I'm calling you to the next step, the next level of his vision. And that's how I got into the image consulting. Styling has just always been a part of my world, thanks to my mom and my dad. So I finally said, you know what, I'm going to monetize it. But with my styling services, I'm not your typical celebrity stylist. I'm not just a fashion stylist that comes and brings a whole bunch of clothes to your house, has you try.
Right.
I'm not that. My message and my mission is bigger and deeper than that. Yeah, I'll put you in a nice outfit. I'll hook your closet up, but let's get to the root of why you're not confident.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm in kind of a pivot because I am being called to go even deeper. And so a lot of my speaking that I do now is centered around confidence, mainly with corporations, speaking at corporations, different institutions, helping new and emerging leaders develop that confident presence that they have so they can advance in their careers. But we get down to the real nitty gritty internal work to uncover that.
So I wanted to get into how you came up with inspiration to write Get Up and Get Dressed. When did you write it? And what was that process like for you?
Get up and get dressed. That's my baby because I did not want to write this book. So this whole process kind of started maybe like end of 2018, mid 2018. And
Mm.
God had been nudging me, write a book, write a book. And I'm like, I don't need to write a book. Like I'm doing my business. But he kept telling me, write a book, write a book. So then by the time 2019 came, I said, okay, God, you keep telling me write this book. What is it about? Like it was one of those things where I was just like, I don't want to write it. you want me to do it, so you gotta tell me what you want it to be. Like literally download. I was in my prayer closet and I was like, God, you gotta tell me because I'm lost. Oh, in my prayer closet, he downloaded everything to me about what he wanted it to be about. And I know that as a wardrobe stylist or image consultant, you know, if I wrote a book, everyone's like, oh, it's a book full of style tips and this, that, and that. That Get Up and Get Dressed aligns with the styling part. But he
Mhm.
literally told me, like, no, women need to get dressed in the fullness of me. They need to get dressed in my perfect image. And I said,
Yes.
oh, I was like, well, I got some stories to tell then.
That is so
So I
good.
Yes. So I started writing in 2019. And started to wrap it up around early 2020. I specifically remembered while we were in the pandemic, that's when I started doing like the publishing process of it.
Mm.
And then I released it on my birthday in 2020, October of
Wow.
2020. You know, so much has changed since then, since I wrote it. So I'm probably gonna write another one.
I had no idea that the book was gonna be what it was, and I was like, "Oh, she good." I love the way you first start the ladies off with understanding how to discover their purpose and things like that. So ladies, this is not your typical style book. You're gonna get so much more out of this. So I'm putting a shameless plug in there right now for y'all to go and get this book. But in the book, she kind of describes how she had this feeling of rejection after being laid off from a very well paying job and purchasing her first home. And, that feeling that, I've arrived, it's going good for me. And seemingly, things starting to fall apart. You said, I didn't deserve to walk around feeling like this. So I refused to settle for this type of unfulfillment. I began having more and more quiet times with God. I removed any distraction that wasn't feeding me with positivity or inspiration. Each day I became still and sat at God's feet. I had so many questions that no corporate manager, friend, or family could answer. I needed the source of strength to strengthen my weakness and reveal my purpose to me. Day after day, I studied the Bible, journaled, prayed, and listened to worship music while waiting to hear from God. At that time, I had no clue what his voice sounded or felt like, but I knew I was in a vulnerable position. Only he could provide comfort. One day, during my quiet time with the Lord, something strong hit my spirit. I heard God say, "This is your wake up call. Don't you think I have more for your life than a job that comes and goes, a status or title that can change any day, or material things that have no value?" I thought, wow, okay, God, you have my attention. That part hit me right there when you said,
Girl, I need to hire you to read my book. When you were reading, I was like, "Whoo!"
that's exactly how I read it. I was like, wow, that is amazing. You have my that response right there is
Mhm.
so important, and that's why I wanted to bring that out.
Yeah.
You talked about hearing and responding to the voice of God in it was a time of transition for you. And so I really believe that a lot of women, God is trying to get their attention in this season and challenging them to step out of the traditional belief system for their path to success and
Mhm.
step into the path that He has for them.
Yeah.
And your response was, "You have my attention." I would love for you to kind of walk us through how you recognized His voice in that season, and what it took for you to have that type of reaction and to have the faith to act on that.
I think for me, I just got to a point where I was just like, this ain't it. This ain't it. Like
Mhm.
a part of it was driven by the feeling of that rejection, the feeling like, oh, I'm just a number on y'all spreadsheet that y'all got rid of. Like that's all I am. I come
Yeah.
in, I'm working hard, I'm, just burning the midnight oil for this job. And that's how y'all think I am. And so once I got over that initial like rejection and that hurt, I was like, okay, bet. Like that's my attitude. And I said, you know what? I said, but before I do anything, because at the time I didn't know, like all I knew was my what I went to school for and my job.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I said, you know what? I need God. I need God. I need God for this. And I need to do what I need to do, or what He wants me to do to really, really like be centered and focus on him. And now I know the different ways that he speaks to me. He speaks to me through journaling, he speaks to me through other people. And also, I do know now what it feels like to have the Holy Spirit literally move through you and
Yes.
move through your heart. But you have to be still enough and pay attention. Like I told him, I was like, you have my attention. Like you have to like kill everything that isn't of him and focus on him, and that's how you can hear him. I don't know, I'm just reflecting back and I'm like, well, God, you got me going through it again.
Right. It's like a, a cycle, right?
But he equips you every single time you're
Yeah.
going through that transformative season. He equips you for the next level to handle the next thing. So I'm so glad or grateful for that season, because that season is when I really developed my faith that set me up for everything else to happen after that.
You talked about your purpose is the unique God-given gift that serves others, and that you gained confidence in how God sees you through serving others. I'm really interested in discussing the idea of being mission driven instead of just business driven.
As entrepreneurs, I know Faith, if you just stick to business driven, you're gonna get so burnt out so quick. Running a business is hard. And
Yeah.
when you're doing the business part of it, at some point you'll be like, this isn't worth it. But when you are driven by your mission, when you are driven by your calling, when you are driven by your obedience to God, because this is the thing, a lot of us are in business that God never wanted us to be in.
See?
Like, and that just came to my head. I wasn't gonna say that, but a lot of us
You're
are
so right.
that look good. Oh, they made six figures doing that. I need to do that too. But that's not your mission. That's not your lane. And so it's hard to do mission driven life when you are not obedient, when you are not available to God. It may not look like it makes sense, but just go with it. When you serve others, you're going to get paid. You're going to get the business part figured out, right? When I started styling, oh my gosh, like I can kick myself now, but when I started styling, one, of course, I was doing stuff for free. I was not charging my worth, but I continued to show up and serve. He sent the resources, he sent the people to make it all work. So it's just having that mission, that calling, that purpose behind what you're doing and having God drive it, that's going to set you up long term.
How has being connected to your mission driven purpose brought you that great sense of satisfaction and fulfillment?
To me, it's not about me. It's about us as a community of women. And to be honest, I work with mostly Black women, but all women coming together, being confident and being unstoppable. That alone is going to serve a greater need for the kingdom. That alone is going to serve a greater need for the world.
I spent many, many, many years doing resume writing and career coaching. And one of the things that I hear from women the most is that they're not really doing what they really, really feel like they should be doing or they really want to be doing. And I often find myself trying to speak to that portion of their life. Like, we really shouldn't be writing you a resume right now. We should be trying to figure out, what is God really calling you to do? Because that's what you're really wanting. So I think that's how kind of this Savvy Girl Summit came about, is trying to help women try to figure out what that is. But there's this thing here that I want to talk to you about, because you talked about it in your book about relinquishing control. This is huge. Many of us grew up in the Destiny's Child era, the independent woman. I got my degree, I got my crib, I got this, I got that. And while this mindset has helped us, to be successful and to, have these things, it has its benefits. But perhaps unknowingly, we might have left only a little bit of room for God to author his plan for our lives. Is it possible, Shaquanna, that many women are praying to be purpose-led, but not getting the answers that they're seeking because they're unwilling to relinquish that control?
Absolutely. And I see that in all areas of life. I see that in love life and relationships. How you gonna pray for a good man, but you ain't doing X, Y, and Z? You know what I'm saying? So it's just I feel like women, oh my gosh, we want to control so much. Our generation was taught, go to college, get a good job, check off all the boxes. And that's not always the case for everyone. And that's what I had to learn through God. He told me very quickly, you're not going to be in corporate America all your life. And you're right. It was great. It set me up, my life up to where it is now. Like, yeah, great. We have a house, we're well taken care of, whatever.
Yeah.
But this, I always knew that this wasn't it for me. I have a lot in here, and it was my time to let that out. When it comes to relinquishing control, it's so hard. It's
Yeah.
so hard because we're so focused on what we can see, but we need to have faith in the unseen. God knows the beginning and the end. When
Yes.
it comes to surrendering to him, when it comes to trusting him, when it comes to obeying him, to me, and I'm a practical person, I rather follow someone who knows exactly how my life is going to turn
How's
out
the story gonna end, right?
versus following my own
Yeah.
judgment or understanding. I don't know how my life is going to turn out, but he does. So I'm going to
Yes.
follow him. If I know that at the end of the day, I already won this, okay, God, let's just ride it out. Ride it out with you. What you need me to do, right? I'm good. I'm just going to sit back, ride out the storm, let Jesus guide, and continue going. If God wants to birth a purpose out of me, or he wants me to actually realize and recognize my purpose, if he wants me to go to another level, I have to make sure that I'm equipped enough to not mishandle it, right? Because
Mhm.
what's the point of getting to the purpose, getting to the promise, or whatever that is in your life, and as soon as you get there, you don't know what to do and you mishandle it, and now you're back to square one.
How can women recognize what the commonalities are that ties into their purpose?
Pay attention to what people come to you about, what people
Yes.
tend to notice about you. People tend to lean on you for. Pay attention to that. In my book, I talk about how God told me to do that prom drive after I got laid off. I'm like,
Mhm.
oh. And it wasn't exactly how I envisioned or how I wanted the perfect prom drive to be.
Right.
But I'm so glad I did it because it literally set up everything else afterwards. So pay attention, execute, and a part of that execution is being obedient, like
Yeah.
being obedient to what God says to do. Almost 3 years later, I'm still here having conversations about this book. People are still buying it. People are still being delivered from it, really, and just really starting that process. And I'm like, thank you, God, because that was the whole point. This
Yeah.
book, Get Up and Get Dressed, was mission driven. Yeah, sure, I make a sale on a book, but if people can learn from my story, my
Yeah.
mistakes, guided closer to God, that's literally all I wanted.
Can you walk us through kind of like what your first year as a full-time entrepreneur was like for the women who are kind of scared to take that move, but they're feeling like they're called to move in that direction?
Yeah. Ooh, it's the ride of your life, sis. I will say this, my first year, I really went up a couple of levels in my faith. I'll say that for sure. Low key, I'm still processing it.
This right here is like exactly what I think women need to hear.
How do you kind of like transform your wardrobe while you're stepping into your purpose type of thing?
Yeah.
I always tell women, or you don't have to do what's trendy. You don't have to wear what you think is in season. You don't have to wear what you think all the girls are wearing right now. Like, no,
Yeah.
you want your style to reflect who you are. Make sure your style reflects the work that God is doing within you. A lot of women are trying to still dress in a different lifestyle or dress in a different season that they were in. If you are now in a season where your business is thriving and maybe your work is thriving or whatever, you need to show up in that way. Represent who God is in your life. Represent the work he's doing in and through your life. Whatever
Yeah.
makes you feel your best, whatever makes you feel confident, do that. Get up and get dressed as if you about to go and have a meeting with God. Period. I'm showing up. I'm showing up. So I think the pandemic taught us that a lot can be done virtually, but when people are doing like virtual meetings, virtual events, virtual work meetings, or whatever, that doesn't mean that you just show up in your pajamas. You still need to show up, right? So little things that I would do is finding different blouses that may be like in a nice color that really just makes you pop on screen. A nice pair of earrings. I see you got your necklace and your earrings
Yeah.
on. Uh, maybe put on a little lip gloss, whatever. Just doing
Mhm.
things like that allows you to still show up is super important with virtual meetings. So with my clients, I will do a lot of shopping for nice blouses, and it don't have to be like
Mhm.
extra fancy or restricting blouses. There's nice quality t-shirts you can buy, or nice comfortable shirts that you can wear that look really good and help you look more put together and polished, but still be comfortable because you're around the house. A blazer is one of my staple items. Regardless of what you're doing, you feel put together. So I would say like blazers, good pants, good jeans, good tops, good shoes, having a nice pair of flat shoes and a nice pair of heels. All of those things mixed together, making sure that you can create multiple outfits with those is
Yeah.
what's going to carry you through all of that.
You know, a lot of women might think that you have to be this huge celebrity in order to work with a personal stylist or an image consultant.
Mhm.
Is that true?
No.
Okay. Y'all heard that.
I tell people all the time that celebrities aren't the only ones who deserve to look good and to have
Exactly.
that type of service and having that type of expert to come into your lives. A lot of women don't think they deserve this. A lot of women don't think that they should prioritize this in their lives. But what you find out is the longer that you wait to do this, the more your confidence is low, the more that you don't feel good about yourself, and just thinking about how that translates and trickles down to the rest of the areas of your life, whether that's in your career, your business, etc. So I'll say it and I'll say it again, like, you deserve it.
I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation, Shaquanna.
Fun.
It has been so purposeful and meaningful. And ladies watching, while you're investing in your time and figuring out your next mission and your purpose, also take some time to invest in your image and your style as well, because it's all a part of the package. So, Shaquanna, thank you so much for being here and sharing those nuggets with us, because she dropped us some good nuggets.
Go to my
Yeah.
website, my book.
It's really good. It's good, y'all. You need to get it.
Thank you, Faith, for having me. This was such a well-needed conversation.